I'm Andy. You're here. Great to have you. Thursday live office hours, helping you build a career you love. Good to go. Okay. Let me know who you are. Let me know where you're from. Let me know what you do. Let me know what you need. Put some question marks in front of your questions. And if you're in any of my programs, let me know. Got a great package for you today on how to view your job search. It's part mindset and outlook. It's part storytelling, and it is part Socratic method. Something questions you can ask yourself to get better results in your job search. Really excited about this one. I've got a great amount of time for you today, so we'll have plenty of time for the Q&A if you're with me live. So I have been coaching a lot of people for a good many years, and the people that I coach one-on-one, which I have one-on-one coaching sessions almost every day of the week in, week out. And inevitably, we get to a point, whether they only take one coaching session with me or whether this is somebody that I coach on an ongoing basis, whether it's for their job search or their career. And this usually comes out of my mouth at some point, and I wanted to share this with you about your job search being one unit. And that's what we're going to talk about today, because I don't think a lot of people actually look at it that way. So I don't know if you were with me last week, but if you were, I did a session on getting things done, and it was about how to make a lot of progress in your life, how to produce a lot of products, deliverables, all that good stuff in your life, in your career, and in your job search. And one of the things that I pointed to, if you remember this card, was unification, which is looking at your job search as one unit. And this is really going to be the central theme today. We're going to take a deeper dive about how everything that you do in your job search, really this applies to anything in your life, that this is the overarching outlook I want you to have, because when you look at things this way, I think you're going to be able to make better decisions. You will have a better attitude. You will be able to make better adjustments as well. And so what do I mean by that? Well, part of it is having faith that the unity itself is designed to get you to where you're supposed to be in the right spot at the right time. You've got to believe this. Really, it's true. And I've got some stories here for you today on this, but this is the overarching theme that we're going to go through today. I want to break it down. It's part psychology and it's part formula here that I'm going to get you at the end. But here's what I notice about a lot of people that I coach. When we get engaged and they talk about, I went through this, I went through that, I was interviewing with this company, that didn't work out, and so forth. Here's the big issue. Here's the big mistake that really adds a lot of stress to your life. The biggest issue that I see with people just in life in general, but especially in their job search, is they get bogged down with the individual activities. I'm having trouble with my resume. I'm having trouble putting cover letters together. The recruiter who was supposed to call me never got back to me. The applicant tracking system is difficult to work with. The process is moving slower than I anticipated. They didn't offer me as much money as I wanted or as I think I deserve. Those kinds of things. And that to me is, number one, our stress levels, and the reason we are primarily stressed is because we expect the world to be different than it is. That's the first thing. But I think the second thing is we don't tend to step back and look at the greater context of everything that's happening, not just the individual acts and what they're doing to us, our attitude and our stress levels, but also the context upon which they are placed in front of us. The challenges are there for a reason. Okay, they're there for a reason, and you need to be able to notice it when it happens so you can, number one, reflect on it, interpret it properly, get value out of it, do something with it so that you actually attain the results that you want. Okay, so that's the big issue. Now, I play this little game with myself, and I invite you to do this. You don't need to do this right this second, but I want to tell you what the game is that I do this with myself every day. And I think about it in the grand scheme of things. I think about it just within a day. But I have this little game, and it's like, how did I get here? Okay, so I want you to think about, how did I get here in whatever context. So there's this funny little story that is a not so small part of my life, And when I was, I came out of school, and I was 21 years old or whatever I was, and I took a job at Anderson Consulting, and I had this boss, and his name was RJ. Actually, RJ wasn't even my direct boss. He was my boss's boss. There was me, there was Bob, there was RJ. And I worked with RJ for a number of months, and I left for a real short period of time. Then I came back to the project that he was managing. We had a great run together, maybe a couple of years, and this is back in the 80s and very early 90s. And people it wasn't as easy to stay connected as it is now. I mean, there was no such thing as LinkedIn or Facebook, and we didn't have email, and we didn't have even computers. We used the computers on site. So, and we didn't have cell phones and those kind of things. So RJ moved away, and I lost touch with him, and fast forward 20 years. Now here I am, and it's, 2007 almost. And RJ was at a tennis match. His daughter was playing in high school tennis, and RJ was sitting next to my friend Ted, who actually was somebody that I met through MileWalk, my recruitment firm, and we became friends. And Ted and RJ just coincidentally, their daughters were playing doubles tennis together, something like that, and they got to talking. And RJ was a senior vice president at a company. He says, hey, I'm wondering, do you know anybody? I've been looking for a senior vice president of sales for a long time. I can't seem to find anybody. And Ted says to RJ, well, I'll give you the best recruiter that I've ever seen. You should call him and see if he can help you. And RJ said, okay, well, what's his name? He says, well, Andy LaCivita. And RJ thought, well, Andy LaCivita? So, that's not a real common name. I was like, I knew an Andy LaCivita. He used to work at Anderson Consulting. He was on one of my teams back in the day. RJ says, same guy. And Ted says, same guy. And, you could see RJ's thinking, and Ted's like, yeah, Andy's come a long way. It's 20 years later now. So RJ gives me a call. I help him with this recruitment. And then a few years goes by. I help him with his career. This is kind of common, right? I develop a multi-dimensional relationship with people that I get connected with. And I was pestering RJ about, you need to really expand what you're doing. You should try a startup. They're really fun. This and that. So we're having lunch one day, and he says to me, okay, you can stop pestering me. I'm going to go work for a startup. And there's, there are like 5 guys in a garage, but this is what we're doing, and we're going to be consulting on this, and we hope to grow it, and so on and so forth. And then before I could even say congratulations, I said to him, well, do you need any money? Like, do you need seed money, like in angel investors? And he said, yeah, let me talk to the, CEO, and I'll get you connected. And so I did. And I thought, this is great. I want to invest. So I called up a couple buddies. I called, my ex-girlfriend. I called up my sister. I say, hey, I got this investment, and I'm trying to raise capital for this old boss and this new friend of mine. And Michelle, my sister, says to her husband Clark, hey, brother Andy wants us to invest. And Clark says, hey, if Andy's got something he wants us to invest in, give him whatever amount of money we can. So I get all these checks. I drive like an hour and a half to meet Paul. He's in a different state, the CEO of the company. And here we are, 6 o'clock in the morning, in a diner, in the middle of nowhere, and I'm handing him all this money and these checks. And I'm thinking to myself, and I start laughing. He says, what are you smiling? I said, well, if in 1988 or 9, when I met RJ, if then somebody would have bonked me over the head, and all of a sudden I'd wake up, here we are like 25 years later, and I'm sitting in a diner handing all this money over to some guy, you'd think RJ and I were in some kind of illegal ring or something like that. And the point of the story is, a lot of things happen in the evolution. Now, whether you want to do it 25 days or 25 years or 25 minutes of your life, things happen. And you have to think about the greater context of all of the things that had to happen. And let's take your relationship and my relationship for a second. Think about what had to happen in order for you and I to be here right now. I had to be born, right? Let's not even go to, mom and dad LaCivita and great-grandpa and great-grandpa and so on. And then I had to do something and go to this school and take this first job and somewhere along the way not get a promotion, have a chip on my shoulder, which forced me to leave a few years later, to go to another consultancy, to learn how to run a business, to then be so motivated to open a recruiting firm, then become a career coach, and so on and so forth. Then think about you. All the things that you had to go through, right? Maybe I have an aspiration for a greater career. Maybe I don't like my job. Maybe I was ceremoniously let go. I tried doing this on my own. I got so miffed I didn't know how to interview. It took me to YouTube. I found one of this guy's videos. I filtered out a bunch of career coaches. I came to Andy's Thursday shows, and so on. Right? Think about all of these things. Do you ever stop to think about what has to happen in order for this to be happening right now. Tell you what, let me give something away, because it's December, right? We're doing this live. I don't know if you're watching this on the recording, when that might be. But I want you to think for a second. I answer my YouTube comments, my blog comments, my Mile Walk Academy comments, people that are in the premium programs, that are in the system, that ask me questions. And every single day, people download something from me, or they subscribe to my newsletter. They get an email that says, thank you for taking whatever it is you grabbed, and then welcome to my community. Here's me. Tell me about you. And they respond. There's 6 magical words that they say to make up a complete sentence. It is the most common expression, piece of feedback, statement, or whatever that people say to me every day. And even if you've never said it to me, what do you think that statement is in their life? In this moment, and they're responding to me, or they're saying something to me, what do you think that is? I want to give you a shot at what you don't even have to get this expression perfectly right. You just need to get the sentiment. But what do you think that is? What do you think that statement is? And I'll give you a juicy prize, the first person who can come up with that. And I want to move on. I want to talk about you. And what you might be going through. And I was talking about, hey, I had to put a resume together. I had to put it in, send it out to somebody. I had to prep a cover letter. I had to put something in an applicant tracking system. I had to interview, and so on. All that stuff, right, leads you to me, or it's taking you through your journey. But what a lot of you do is you think these are individual acts, individual failures, or individual challenges and steps, when that is just not the case. When something happens to you that is by design supposed to happen, the universe is making it happen so that you can get to where you want to go. It's just a pawn being moved off the chessboard. I mean, think about chess, for example. I mean, it's a square board game, 64 squares. You got 16 pieces of white, 16 pieces of black. How is it that every master chess player can remember every single move of every single game, where all the pieces were all the time? But for somebody like you and me, who's an amateur, it would be nearly impossible for us to remember that. Why? They see the board, they see the game as one unit. They're not trying to memorize where all 32 pieces are on the board, right? Or 20 pieces, or whatever it is, right? They see it as a unit. That's how you need to see your job search, because everything that you do and everything that happens to you has value in the moment it occurs. But a lot of people get upset. Things aren't going the way I want. I can't understand how to get past this. That's the wrong way of looking at it. You're focusing on a moment in time instead of looking at the greater picture. All right, so wait, I don't know if my team is telling me if anybody got that, but I'm going to keep rolling. Let me tell you about a couple other people. There's a woman, Priya, who is a one-on-one coaching client with me. She emails me a while back and says, Andy, look, I don't want to go through any online training programs. I need help. I'm going to be interviewing with different organizations. I know they're going to be top shelf. I used to work for Amazon. I quit. I'm unemployed. Just tell me what I need to pay you to prepare me for all of this. I don't want to watch anything. I want to talk to you. So we got together. We outlined a plan of what we thought she was going to need and all that good stuff. And then almost every week she had interviews with companies like Pinterest and Twitter and Google and Facebook and Oracle and a number of other very prominent companies. And every time she would have an interview, I would prepare her. And we would, get all her foundational stuff in order. And then I would say, here's the curves and the sliders. And here's the other things that you're going to need to be ready for this type of interview with this person at this level. Here's what they're likely going to do, and so on. We would go through the session. She would watch the recording. She would make her notes. She would practice her stories. She would go in, and inevitably she'd do 90%. Right? They'd throw her a slider, she'd miss it, and at the end of those sessions, she'd email me back and she'd say, Andy, I knew you prepped me, I knew it, but I choked, or whatever, or I fumbled, or there was a twist that we didn't talk about that they threw to me. I said, don't you worry, right? And she would be bummed out, and I would say, what do you care that you didn't even want to work for that company anyway, right? So pawn being moved off the chessboard, and then we'd polish something up. I said, don't worry, have faith. Then apple came, and we prepped for that. And then I will never forget, I was driving, it was in the summertime, and I was going to the lake for a swim, and I missed a call from her, and I hit it on the speaker, the Bluetooth in my car, and Priya talks a mile a minute, and she's like, oh my God, Andy, Apple, I got a job, and I will never forget the elation. I think she was laughing, crying, everything, all emotions all at once, because it was designed to get her to where she needed to be at the right time. This will happen for you. This happens a lot. So here's what I want you to do. I want to give you 5 things that I want you to think about. Tape these up on your computer, put them in your notebook, whatever it might be, wherever it's good for you, however you organize your stuff. The first thing, so this is the Socratic method I was talking about. You can use this on yourself, but I want you to think about this. Number 1, have faith. All right? Life happens for you, not to you. All right, whatever happens is for your own good. Okay, let's just eliminate death for a second, but pretty much everything else that happens, if you can look for the good in it, right, and trust and have faith that was supposed to happen, I think you'll be in great shape. This is kind of step 1 or step 0. Then I want you to think about, okay, what can I learn from this right now? All right, there's a learning component. Whatever happens to you along the way, I want you to make sure that you're focusing on what is it that I can take away from it at this moment. Did you go to an interview? Did you have a hiccup? Did they say, well, your answers weren't detailed enough? Okay, well, maybe they're correct, maybe not. What can I do with this what can I learn from this right now? Do I need to be more detailed? Can you evaluate that? Can you step back? When you send a letter out or a message, so to speak, or an email where you're targeting a boss and the boss comes back to you and says something, maybe that feedback is, hey, I should have included that in my email. Is there something that I can learn from that? Maybe I need to polish up certain things. Okay, but what can I learn from this right now? And the next thing, what can I do with this right now? Okay, so learning is soaking it up. This is the action part, right? So what can I do with this right now? Oh, you didn't get the job. Okay, well, can you send the thoughtful Andy's rejection letter? If you don't know what that is, check out How to Get the Job After Being Rejected. Can you send that, right? Can you send that and make sure that the bridge you've built in the relationships that you developed through the interview process that at this moment was unsuccessful can be continued? Can you tee yourself up for a 30-day follow-up? Can you open yourself up to more possibilities inside that organization? That's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. Well, what can I do with this right now? Can I learn from it, and can I use that going forward in my next interview? Okay? So what did I learn, and how can I apply it, and what can I do with it right at the moment? But then, what about this one? Well, what can I do with it forever? What can I learn from this forever? Do you think that anything I tell you in any of these shows just apply, if we're talking about job searching, just applies to job searching? No, there is a lifelong application to the networking principles that I share with you. As you're putting a cover letter together, you might be thinking, I need to put a cover letter together because I have to submit it for a job application or with this email I'm sending to whatever. No, yes, that is an action, but what can you do with it forever? I just taught you what are the 7 mental trigger and emotional trigger points for somebody to elicit a response the kind you want. These are things that skills you should be developing while you happen to be going through something that has a very short-term effect and a short-term consequence in your life, right? So are you doing things for the long haul? I had a coaching session, actually speaking of coaching sessions, I had one last night with a woman, and the main topic of the coaching session was that she wanted to have a discussion with her boss. And she wanted my advice on how would I go to my boss and explain to my boss what it is that I want my job to look like next year. I'm not completely happy with this, and my boss is not very responsive. She's not very engaged with me, and I want to know, how do I say what I want to say? I know I have to do some soul searching and have to identify this, so we go through the discussion. I taught her about how she needed to, first off, identify those things, and how she needed to put a mixture together in thinking about how her boss would construe or misconstrue everything she was saying and doing. So we went through this outline. I talked to her about how to prime the discussion, how to frame the discussion, how to say what she wanted to say. There were little mixtures in there and different techniques to elicit a positive response. We got done with that, and then I said to her, okay, now pause for a second. Now I want you to fast forward and think about when you're interviewing for a job. You use the same exact template when you find yourself in situations such as, and I outlined exactly how she would find herself in those situations and how she can apply what I just taught her forever, for life, for wherever job she's working, at whatever company she's working for, or whatever company she's in. There is forever applicability to the things that you learn or do or experience every single day. Are you taking advantage of applying this? Don't miss this chance. Don't miss any chance. All right, and then the fifth thing that I would say to you is, who can I carry with me? So along the way in what I do, how can I make what I'm doing benefit others? So I'm not talking about getting support. I'm talking about how do you offer up your help in whatever it is you're doing. So in your job search, are there other people that you could help support, teach, refer things to, right? Things you've found interesting, books you've read, people like me you've met, whoever, however. But who is it that I can help along the way? Because in helping somebody else, I'm going to learn a lot about me. Do you know every week when I show up and I teach you stuff, and then we do the Q&A after, you're teaching me what I need to teach you, right? It's an example. You're helping me get better. I carry you guys with me every week, every day, right? Can you help somebody along the way? And by you helping them, you're going to grow in the process as well. So if you take a look at these things and these 5 things that I've given you, I think you're going to have a lot. Number one, you're going to be able to have a much better attitude. You will be much more positive. You will get more value out of what you're doing. You will know how to make better adjustments. So just think about it. I know and have faith that I'm on the right track. It might be taking you a week. It might be taking you a month. You might have been with me a year focusing on this stuff. There's something that I assure you, you'll get to where you're supposed to be. Second thing is, what can I learn? Right? What can I learn from this right now? So focusing on the right now. What can I learn? What can I do with it? How can I apply it for the larger picture and the longer term? And who else can I help and bring along with me and grow myself in the process? All right. So I want you to think about that. I hope that serves you. And I want to check back. Did anybody actually take a shot at what they think is the most common thing that somebody says to me? Team, did anybody get that? I need some kind of answer because I'm seeing silence from my team. But if I'm going to give my team a chance to respond, I know I'm on a delay. So you got to give me a no one took a shot at it at all. I don't know. Let me just double check there. I don't know. I'm not really getting anything. So, all right, I'm going to tell you what it was. It was, I wish I found you sooner, right? Now they're telling me they're on the wrong channel. Okay, hang on a second. Somebody did it. Teresa Brown, I wish I would have found you sooner. Yes, she got it. Okay. Kara, let's see. I think Teresa Brown is a boot camper, and if you are not in the leadership program, congratulations, you are now. And I'm going to tell you about the leadership program. I wish I found you earlier. Doug, you know what? We got a tie. I don't know who. I can't even read what my team is telling me. So can we just give Doug, if you are not in my job search boot camp, I'll let you in that. If you are in my job search boot camp, because I don't know that I recognize your name. Or you can have the leadership program for you. I'm going to tell you about the leadership program in a second. And my team, get on the damn right channel. Thank you for that. Okay. All right. See? And wait, speaking of my team and speaking of the leadership program, but before we go into that, I hope you enjoyed that program. thanks, for your attention on that. I hope it helped. I can teach you all day long about how to do this and how to do that, but I think your mindset, your attitude, and your outlook are wildly important and really can change the complexion of your search and your life. So if you're here with me live, we're going to be heading to the Q&A. If you're not and you're on the recording, I'll see you next week.